The crystalline corridors of the celestial dominance sparkled under the soft azure lighting as High Representative Sarah Chen led the first human delegation aboard the massive vessel. Behind her, 3 retired engineers tried to maintain diplomatic composure despite their professional curiosity reaching near explosive levels. The celestial dominance represents the pinnacle of Council engineering, announced Chief Engineer Zixtal, their iridescent scales reflecting the corridor lights. This section alone contains computing power equivalent to your entire planetary network. Dr. Marcus Thompson, a retired propulsion specialist, nodded politely while his trained eyes noticed the inefficient routing of the power conduits running along the ceiling. The Council had arranged them in perfect geometric patterns, sacrificing functionality for aesthetic appeal. He caught the eye of his colleague, Dr. Ramirez, who had also noticed the same thing. "Most impressive," Sarah responded, maintaining the expected diplomatic awe. "Our engineers would need decades to comprehend such advanced technology." She watched with hidden amusement as Zixtal's chest inflated with pride, their species' characteristic display of satisfaction. The tour continued into the main engine room, a cathedral-like chamber filled with pulsing crystalline structures. "Our quantum fold drive allows us to traverse the galaxy in mere days," Zixtal explained, gesturing to the central column of swirling energy. "The principles behind it would be quite beyond your current understanding." Dr. Thompson suppressed a smile. The basic design was remarkable, but the execution was needlessly complex. He could already see at least 3 ways to improve the efficiency by simply rearranging the containment field generators. Earth scientists had theorized similar principles decades ago, but had taken a different approach to spatial manipulation. "Please, do not touch anything," Zixtal cautioned as Dr. Ramirez leaned in to examine a control panel. "These systems are incredibly delicate and calibrated to perfection." Perfect was not the word Dr. Ramirez would have chosen. The control interface was a maze of redundant systems, each requiring multiple confirmations for the simplest operations. A human engineer would have streamlined the process, reducing both response time and potential errors. The delegation moved through the ship's medical bay, where the 3rd engineer, Dr. Helen Wright, noticed their life support systems were running at full capacity even in unused sections. Such waste of energy would never pass Earth's efficiency standards. "And here," Zixtal proclaimed proudly, "is our tactical center." The room was a hemisphere of holographic displays and control stations. "From here, we can coordinate the movements of our entire fleet." Sarah watched as her engineering team exchanged subtle glances. The tactical display was impressive, but suffered from information overload. Humans had learned through centuries of warfare that simpler, more focused command interfaces were more effective in crisis situations. "A question, if I may," Dr. Thompson ventured carefully. "These power readings on your auxiliary systems." "Ah, yes," Zixtal interrupted with a condescending smile. "The complexity of our power distribution would require several of your years to fully explain." "Of course," Dr. Thompson replied smoothly, already mentally drafting improvements to their obviously inefficient system. As the tour concluded, the Council representatives gathered to bid farewell to their human guests. "We hope this demonstration of our superior technology has been educational," the senior council member declared. "Perhaps in a few centuries, humanity will achieve similar capabilities." Sarah bowed respectfully, hiding her diplomatic smile. "We are honored by your generosity in sharing such wonders with us. Earth looks forward to learning from the Council's example." Back on their shuttle, the engineering team could barely contain their excitement. "Did you see their reactor shielding?" Dr. Wright whispered. "They're using crystalline matrices for everything, even where metamaterials would be more efficient." "And their navigation systems," Dr. Ramirez added. "All those beautiful calculations, but they're brute-forcing solutions instead of using adaptive algorithms." Sarah listened to her team's observations with growing satisfaction. The Council had meant to impress them with their technological superiority. Instead, they had given Earth's finest engineers a blueprint for revolution. "Remember," she cautioned as Earth grew larger in their viewport. "We're just simple, primitive humans who were awestruck by their amazing technology." The engineers nodded, their minds already racing with improvements and innovations. The Council's greatest error wasn't just letting humans tour their warship. It was assuming humans would only see what they were shown, rather than what could be. 6 hours after returning to Earth, the cavernous meeting room deep within the lunar engineering complex hummed with barely contained excitement. Dr. Emily Santos stood before a holographic projection of the Celestial Dominance's reactor system, her hands moving swiftly as she highlighted key components. "Their crystalline matrix is elegant," she explained to the assembled team, "but they're stuck in a recursive design philosophy. Look here," she zoomed in on the reactor's core. "They're using perfect geometric patterns because that's how their technology evolved, not because it's optimal." Dr. Thompson stepped forward, his decades of propulsion experience evident in his confident analysis. "They've built their entire civilization around crystalline computing, which is impressive, but they've stopped innovating. Every solution is just a bigger, more complex crystal array." The hologram shifted to display the ship's power distribution network. Dr. Ramirez pointed to several junctions. "These symmetrical routing patterns are actually causing micro-delays in power delivery. If we rearrange them based on demand rather than geometric perfection, the efficiency would increase by at least 300%. Dr. Wright finished, already sketching modifications on her tablet. And that's just the beginning. Their life support systems are constantly running at maximum because they never considered adaptive scaling. Sarah Chen watched from the back of the room as Earth's brightest minds deconstructed and reimagined what the Council considered perfection. The diplomatic part of her job was finished. Now she was here to ensure their innovations wouldn't reveal too much too quickly. "Remember," she interjected as the engineers began discussing immediate improvements to Earth's fleet, "we need to maintain the appearance of natural technological progression. The Council needs to believe we're developing on our own path." Dr. Santos nodded, pulling up another hologram. "That's why we start here, with the Heritage-class vessels. We'll incorporate our improvements gradually, disguised as traditional human engineering approaches." The room fell silent as the new ship design materialized in the air before them. It looked conventional enough to avoid suspicion, but incorporated countless subtle innovations inspired by their tour of the Celestial Dominance. "We'll start with the power systems," Dr. Thompson suggested. "We can explain any efficiency improvements as refinements of existing human technology. The Council barely understands our fusion designs anyway. They're too focused on their crystal tech." Dr. Wright pulled up the medical base schematics she'd memorized. "Their biomedical systems are actually behind ours in some areas. We can help other species without revealing our full capabilities by focusing on these sectors first." The meeting continued through the lunar night as the team methodically planned humanity's technological leap forward. Every improvement was carefully categorized. Immediate implementations, gradual introductions, and developments to be saved for later to avoid suspicion. Meanwhile, on the Celestial Dominance, Zixtel reviewed the recorded footage of the human tour. The engineers had seemed appropriately impressed, asking simple questions that confirmed their primitive understanding. The chief engineer sent their daily report to the Council. Human delegation displayed expected level of technological comprehension. No security concerns noted. Back on Earth, Sarah composed the official diplomatic response to the Council. "The human delegation extends its deepest gratitude for the enlightening tour of your magnificent vessel. We are humbled by the Council's advanced technology and look forward to continuing our species' gradual development under your wise guidance." Dr. Santos read the message and smiled. "Perfect. They'll be so busy feeling superior that they won't notice what we're actually doing." "How long until the first Heritage-class ship is ready?" Sarah asked, watching the engineers continue their work. 3 months for the prototype," Dr. Thompson replied. "We'll need to deliberately include some inefficiencies to maintain our cover, but even with those limitations, it'll be twice as capable as anything humanity has officially produced before." Sarah nodded, watching the holographic displays fill with calculations and improvements. The Council had meant to humble humanity with a display of their superior technology. Instead, they had given Earth's engineers exactly what they needed: a close look at advanced technology and all its overlooked potential. "Send the thank you message," she instructed her aide. "And make sure to mention how the tour has inspired us to redouble our efforts to achieve spacefaring excellence through traditional human engineering." The Council would read the message with amusement, never suspecting that their greatest technological advantage was already slipping away. 3 months passed in a blur of activity beneath the lunar surface. The Heritage-class prototype, officially designated SS Pioneer, took shape in the massive construction bay. Its outer appearance was intentionally conventional, but its internal systems told a different story. "Power-up sequence initiated," Dr. Santos announced from the control center, her hands moving across the streamlined interface. Unlike the Council's overcomplicated control systems, the Pioneer's commands were elegantly simple, designed for efficiency rather than ceremony. The ship's reactor hummed to life, its energy signature carefully masked to appear like a standard fusion drive. In reality, the system incorporated several principles observed on the celestial dominance, but with distinctly human improvements. Reactor stability at 100%, Dr. Thompson reported, hiding his satisfaction as the power readings exceeded their most optimistic projections. Temperature variance within expected parameters. From her observation post on the Lunar Gateway Station, Sarah Chen watched the test with several Council observers. The aliens had insisted on monitoring humanity's first post-contact vessel launch, expecting to see a crude attempt at copying their technology. "The design seems quite basic," commented the senior Council observer, a tall being named Excelfor, "though admirable for your current level of development." Sarah maintained her diplomatic smile. "We believe in building upon our existing knowledge base rather than attempting grand leaps forward." She watched as the Pioneer executed its first maneuver, its movements deliberately constrained to match expected capabilities. In the ship's engine room, Dr. Ramirez monitored the power distribution network. The system was performing far beyond specifications, but external readings showed only standard efficiency levels. Their carefully designed sensor masks were working perfectly. "Beginning acceleration test," Dr. Santos announced. The Pioneer moved smoothly out of the construction bay, its speed increasing at what appeared to be a normal rate. Only the human engineers knew that the ship was operating at less than 30% of its true capability. The Council observers made notes, occasionally exchanging knowing looks. They saw exactly what humanity wanted them to see, a species making steady but unremarkable progress. "Interesting approach to the propulsion system," Selfor remarked, examining the sensor readings. "Though, of course, it falls far short of Council standards." "We have much to learn," Sarah agreed, watching as the Pioneer executed a series of test maneuvers. Each movement was precisely calculated to demonstrate improvement while avoiding any hint of the ship's true capabilities. Deep within the Pioneer, Dr. Wright supervised the life support systems. The technology appeared standard, but it incorporated subtle modifications based on their observations of the celestial dominance. Their version was actually more efficient than the Council's design, though the improvements were carefully hidden. "All systems performing within expected parameters," she reported, emphasizing the word expected for the benefit of the Council observers monitoring the communications. The test continued for several hours, with the Pioneer demonstrating capabilities that impressed the human observers while amusing the Council representatives. Every maneuver was a carefully choreographed display of deliberate restraint. "Test sequence complete," Dr. Santos announced finally, all systems functioning normally. Sarah turned to the Council observers. "We hope our progress, though modest, shows humanity's commitment to peaceful space exploration." "Indeed," Selfor responded with diplomatic grace. "The Council acknowledges your species' determination. Perhaps in a few decades, you might be ready to begin implementing some basic council technologies. Later, in the secure briefing room, the engineering team reviewed the test data. The Pioneer had performed perfectly, its true capabilities hidden beneath layers of carefully crafted deception. They didn't suspect a thing, Dr. Thompson said, displaying the actual performance metrics. We could have completed their entire test sequence in 1/4 of the time. The sensor masks worked perfectly, Dr. Santos added. They saw exactly what they expected to see, a primitive species taking their first tentative steps into advanced spaceflight. Sarah nodded, already composing her report to Earth's leadership. The Council's pride blinds them. They're so convinced of their superiority that they interpret everything through that lens. How long until we can begin mass production? Dr. Wright asked, examining the efficiency data. We'll wait 2 months, Sarah replied. Any sooner might raise suspicions. Remember, we're supposed to be struggling with these new technologies. The team agreed, knowing that patience was as important as innovation. The Council would continue to underestimate humanity, never realizing that their greatest technological advantage was already being surpassed. In the construction bay, the Pioneer waited silently, its true potential hidden beneath a carefully maintained facade of mediocrity. The revolution had begun, and the Council hadn't even noticed. The emergency signal pulsed through space, its crystalline frequencies marking it as a Council mining vessel in distress. The Celestial Dominance and its support fleet calculated a 3-day journey to reach the remote location in the Carina Nebula's outer rim. Radiation levels critical, the distress call reported. Shield failure imminent. 200 crew members require immediate evacuation. Sarah Chen, now fleet coordinator, stood in Earth's strategic command center as the call echoed through human space. The HFY Pioneer was already prepared for launch, its true capabilities about to be tested in real conditions. Council Rescue Fleet estimates 72 hours to arrival, Dr. Santos reported from her station. The mining vessel's shields will fail in less than 20. Sarah nodded, knowing the moment they'd planned for had arrived. Contact the Council. Inform them that we're dispatching the Pioneer to assist, despite our limited capabilities. The Council's response was immediate and predictably condescending. While we appreciate Earth's generous offer, this situation requires advanced technological intervention beyond your current abilities. Nevertheless, Sarah replied diplomatically, we feel obligated to try. The Pioneer launched quietly, its conventional external appearance masking the revolutionary systems within. Captain Michael Rodriguez, handpicked for his ability to maintain composure under pressure, guided the ship out of Earth's orbit. Initiating drive systems at full capacity, Dr. Thompson announced from the engineering section. For the first time, they would unleash the ship's true potential. The Council observers watched their sensor readings with mild interest as the Pioneer departed. Their attention quickly shifted when the human vessel seemingly disappeared from their screens. Approaching target location, Rodriguez reported 6 hours later, the Pioneer dropping out of its enhanced drive state near the stricken mining vessel. The Council fleet was still more than 60 hours away. The mining vessel's captain, a crystalline being named Kexty, could barely process the sudden appearance of a human ship. How? Our sensors must be malfunctioning. This is Captain Rodriguez of the HSS Pioneer. The transmission went out. We're here to assist with evacuation procedures. Inside the Pioneer's engine room, Dr. Ramirez monitored the power systems as they prepared for their most challenging test. The rescue would require precise manipulation of their shields to protect both ships from the nebula's radiation. Beginning emergency shield extension, Dr. Wright announced. The Pioneer's advanced barrier system, derived from their study of the celestial dominance, but refined through human innovation, stretched out to encompass the failing mining vessel. The Council ship's crew watched in disbelief as their radiation readings suddenly dropped to safe levels. The human vessel, which should have been barely capable of interstellar flight, was somehow projecting a shield more effective than their own. Initiating emergency transport procedures, Rodriguez commanded. The Pioneer's transport system, another hidden improvement, began safely moving the mining crew aboard. 2 hours later, the last crew member was secured, and the Pioneer prepared to depart. The mining vessel's protected data cores had also been safely retrieved, another feat that should have been beyond human capabilities. All crew members safely aboard, Dr. Santos reported. Life support systems functioning perfectly despite operating at 200% standard capacity. The Council fleet, still en route, received the rescue confirmation with profound confusion. Their sensors showed the human vessel had somehow crossed vast distances in impossible time, executed a rescue that should have been beyond their technology, and was now safely departing with 200 survivors. Perhaps, the mining vessel's captain suggested in their report, we should reevaluate our assessment of human capabilities. Back on Earth, Sarah received the mission success confirmation with careful satisfaction. Send our respects to the Council, she instructed her communications officer. Inform them that we were fortunate to be close enough to assist, and that we look forward to their fleet's arrival to handle the more technical aspects of the situation. The Council's response was delayed, their usual confidence somewhat shaken. Their subsequent analysis of the rescue would raise questions they couldn't quite answer, but humanity's continued diplomatic humility would prevent them from seeing the full truth. In the Pioneer's medical bay, Dr. Wright treated the rescued crew members, using systems that seamlessly merged human intuition with advanced technology. The Council's greatest error was now becoming apparent, one rescue at a time. The revolution had begun not with a declaration of superiority, but with a simple act of humanitarian aid that no one could question. News of the Pioneer's rescue spread through galactic channels like ripples in a cosmic pond. The Mentarian Federation, a minor species known for their advanced medical technology but limited space travel capabilities, was the first to approach Earth directly. We seek understanding, their ambassador stated during a private meeting with Sarah Chen. Our ships struggle with nebula radiation, yet your vessel demonstrated remarkable shielding capabilities. Dr. Santos, now Director of Technological Exchange, shared a careful glance with Sarah before responding. Our approach focuses on efficiency rather than raw power. Perhaps we could arrange a collaborative engineering summit. The Mentarians weren't alone. Within weeks, representatives from 12 different species arrived at the newly established International Space Engineering Academy in Geneva. Each brought their own technological specialties, and each had noticed something unique about the Pioneer's performance. Your power distribution systems, a Centaurian engineer observed during one session. They follow organic patterns rather than geometric ones. We never considered such an approach. Dr. Thompson led the advanced propulsion workshops, carefully presenting human innovations as logical developments of existing principles. The key isn't more power, he explained to a fascinated audience, but rather understanding how to use what you have more effectively. The Council watched these developments with growing uncertainty. Their observers noted increased traffic between Earth and various minor species, but saw only technical exchanges that appeared to be well below Council standards. They're teaching fundamental engineering principles, one Council report noted dismissively. Nothing that approaches our level of advancement. But in secure laboratories beneath the lunar surface, human engineers worked alongside their alien counterparts, sharing insights that would revolutionize space travel. The Council's crystalline technology was elegant but rigid. Human adaptability, combined with various species' specialized knowledge, was creating something entirely new. Look at these results, Dr. Wright exclaimed during a joint session with Mentarian medical researchers. Their combined approach to life support systems had yielded improvements that neither species could have achieved alone. Sarah monitored these exchanges carefully, ensuring that each innovation appeared to be a natural collaboration rather than derived from the Council's technology. Remember, she reminded her team, we're not teaching them to copy the Council. We're showing them how to think differently. The impact became evident as ships from various species began incorporating human-inspired modifications. A Centaurian vessel completed a rescue mission in half the expected time. A Mintarian medical transport demonstrated unprecedented efficiency in its life support systems. Your species has a remarkable gift, the Proximan ambassador told Sarah during a private dinner. You see possibilities where others see only established patterns. The Academy expanded, adding new facilities to accommodate the growing number of interested species. Each came with their own technological expertise, and each left with a new perspective on what was possible. Dr. Ramirez led a team developing hybrid systems that combined human intuition with alien specialties. The Council believes technology must follow rigid paths. He explained to his students, "We believe it should adapt to serve its users." In the shipyards orbiting Mars, vessels of various designs took shape, each incorporating principles learned from the exchange program. None matched the Council's ships in raw power or complexity, but all demonstrated remarkable improvements in efficiency and adaptability. The humans are fostering technological cooperation among minor species, another Council report observed. While admirable, their achievements remain within acceptable parameters. Sarah read the report with carefully hidden amusement. The Council's inability to recognize the significance of these collaborations was their continuing blind spot. They measured advancement by their own rigid standards, missing the revolution happening right before them. The next phase can begin, she informed Earth's leadership. The groundwork had been laid. Species across the galaxy were learning to think beyond established limitations, and the Council remained oblivious to the transformation they had inadvertently sparked. In the Academy's main hall, representatives from 20 different species gathered to share their latest achievements. Each success story represented another crack in the Council's technological dominance, though none of the innovations could be directly traced to the tour of the celestial dominance. The Council's greatest error wasn't just showing humans their technology. It was failing to recognize that humanity's greatest strength lay not in copying advanced systems, but in reimagining what was possible and sharing that vision with others. The quiet revolution continued, one innovation at a time. The solar storm hit without warning, a massive eruption that threatened the primary shipping lanes between three major galactic sectors. The Council's emergency response fleet mobilized immediately, but the situation was unprecedented in its scale. Multiple vessels trapped in the affected zones, the emergency broadcasts reported. Radiation levels exceeding standard shielding capabilities. The HSS Pioneer, now joined by its sister ship HS Endeavour, responded to the crisis. This time, there would be no hiding their true capabilities. Too many lives hung in the balance. All power to advanced shielding, Captain Rodriguez commanded from the Pioneer's bridge. The ship's crystalline hybrid shields, now far superior to their Council inspirations, blazed to life at full strength. Dr. Santos, monitoring from Lunar Command, watched as both human vessels pushed their systems to maximum capacity. Pioneer and Endeavour entering the hot zone. Shield modifications holding stable. The Council vessels observed in stunned silence as the human ships dove straight into radiation levels that should have overwhelmed their supposedly primitive technology. The Pioneer's shields not only held but extended to protect a cluster of stranded transport ships. "This is impossible," Zixtal muttered from the Celestial Dominance's command center. Their technology was basic just months ago. We saw it ourselves. Within hours, the full extent of human innovation became clear. The Pioneer and Endeavour moved through the solar storm with precise coordination, their hybrid drives allowing them to reach trapped vessels before Council ships could arrive. Implementing emergency mass transport protocols, Dr. Wright announced. The human vessel's transport systems, now enhanced by Mintarian medical stasis technology, began evacuating crew members from the most damaged ships. Sarah Chen, coordinating the rescue effort, received requests for assistance from Council vessels struggling with the extreme conditions. "Share the shield modifications," she ordered without hesitation. All of them. The Council ship's commanders watched in disbelief as their engineers implemented the human improvements. Their own shields stabilized, becoming more efficient than ever before. "How did you develop these modifications?" the Celestial Dominance's science officer demanded. We observed, we learned, and we improved. Dr. Thompson replied simply, transmitting additional technical data. Your crystalline technology is remarkable, but it needed human adaptability. As the crisis subsided, the true scope of human advancement became impossible to ignore. The Pioneer and Endeavour had rescued more ships than the entire Council fleet combined, using technology that seamlessly merged multiple species innovations. We request an immediate conference, the Council's emergency transmission stated. The concern in their message was evident. In the aftermath, representatives gathered on the Celestial Dominance. The same chamber that had once hosted a tour for primitive humans now held a very different meeting. You've exceeded all known technological development patterns, Sixtel stated, their scales shifting in agitation. This level of advancement should have taken centuries. Sarah stepped forward, her diplomatic training perfect for this moment. The Council showed us something remarkable during that tour, she explained. Not just advanced technology, but the possibility of improvement. Dr. Santos displayed holographic diagrams of their hybrid systems. We didn't copy your technology, she clarified. We reimagined it, combining Council principles with human innovation and contributions from other species. The evidence was undeniable. Human ships now operated with efficiency that surpassed Council standards, using systems that were both more advanced and more adaptable than traditional crystalline technology. Why didn't you keep these improvements to yourselves? A Council member asked. You could have established dominance over multiple sectors. Captain Rodriguez answered from his position by the Chamber's viewport. Because humanity's strength isn't in hoarding knowledge, but in sharing it. Every species has something unique to contribute. The Council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Their carefully maintained technological superiority hadn't been overcome by force or replication, but through collaboration and innovation. We don't seek to replace the Council, Sarah stated firmly. We want to work together, combining the best aspects of all our technologies. The solar storm crisis had forced humanity to reveal their full capabilities, but it had also demonstrated their commitment to using that advancement for the benefit of all species. The Council's greatest error was being transformed into the galaxy's greatest opportunity, one shared innovation at a time. 1 year after the solar storm incident, the galactic landscape had transformed beyond recognition. The newly established Interstellar Innovation Hub, built in Earth's orbit, hosted representatives from over 200 species, including prominent Council members. Dr. Santos stood at the hub's central auditorium, presenting the latest breakthrough in hybrid propulsion technology. By combining Centaurian quantum mechanics with Council crystalline matrices and human adaptive algorithms, we've achieved efficiency levels previously thought impossible. The audience, once divided by technological hierarchies, now collaborated freely. Council engineers worked alongside species they had once dismissed as primitive, each contributing unique perspectives to shared challenges. The human approach to problem-solving is remarkable, a senior Council scientist admitted during a joint research session. You see connections we overlooked for millennia. Sarah Chen, now serving as Director of Galactic Cooperation, watched from her office as ships of various designs docked at the hub. Each vessel represented a perfect blend of multiple technologies. Council crystals enhanced by human innovation. Mintarian medical systems merged with Proximan energy distribution. The latest deep space expedition results are in, Dr. Thompson announced, displaying data from regions previously considered unreachable. The new hybrid ships could travel further, explore longer, and adapt to conditions that would have overwhelmed traditional vessels. In the hub's engineering wing, Dr. Wright supervised a team developing next-generation life support systems. Traditional Council technology focused on maintaining perfect stability. She explained to her diverse group of students, "We've learned that adaptability is more important than perfection." The Council's original crystalline technology had evolved into something far more sophisticated, Human engineers had shown that the crystals could be programmed to adapt and grow, rather than maintain rigid patterns. "Your species has catalyzed a renaissance," Zixtal observed during a private meeting with Sarah. Their scales now shifted in fascination rather than condescension. "We thought we were teaching you, but you were showing us our own limitations." The Galactic Survey Corps, a new joint initiative, launched its first fleet of hybrid exploration vessels. Each ship carried crew members from multiple species, their combined knowledge essential for pushing the boundaries of known space. Long-range sensors detecting anomaly in Sector 7. A Mintarian officer reported from their advanced scanning station. The technology merged council precision with human intuition, allowing them to identify patterns that neither species could have recognized alone. Dr. Ramirez led the hub's power systems development, where council engineers finally understood why humans had reorganized their distribution networks. "Efficiency isn't about perfect symmetry," he demonstrated. "It's about adapting to changing needs." The hub's success sparked similar facilities across the galaxy. Each center specialized in different aspects of technological fusion, creating a network of innovation that transcended traditional boundaries. "We've mapped regions previously hidden from our sensors," a Proxima navigator announced, displaying star charts that filled gaps in the Council's ancient databases. The hybrid scanning technology revealed cosmic phenomena that had eluded detection by conventional methods. Sarah reviewed reports from various sectors, noting how quickly the new technologies were being implemented. Species that had once competed now shared resources and knowledge freely, each breakthrough building on the last. "The Council's greatest error," she mused during a recorded interview, "became the galaxy's greatest opportunity. They showed us their technology, expecting us to merely admire it. Instead, we sought its potential to evolve." In the hub's fabrication centers, ships under construction showcased the new paradigm. Council crystalline cores pulsed with human-designed adaptive algorithms, while Centaurian quantum fields merged seamlessly with Mintarian biological interfaces. "We're receiving requests for technological exchange from the galaxy's outer rim," Dr. Santos reported, highlighting regions that had long isolated themselves from Council influence. The promise of collaborative innovation proved more attractive than traditional power structures. The Council chambers, once symbols of technological superiority, transformed into forums for galactic cooperation. The rigid hierarchies of the past gave way to a new order based on shared discovery and mutual advancement. "Perhaps," Zixtal suggested during a general assembly, "it's time to rename the Council. We are no longer the keepers of knowledge, but participants in something far greater." The revolution sparked by a simple tour had evolved into a galactic renaissance, proving that the true power of technology lay not in its complexity, but in the diverse perspectives that could reimagine its potential. 5 years after that fateful tour of the celestial dominance, the galaxy gathered to commemorate a new era. The massive space station, once known as the Council's Center of Excellence, had been transformed into the Galactic Institute of Innovation, its crystalline spires now interwoven with architectural elements from 100 worlds. Sarah Chen stood at the Grand Observatory, watching vessels of every design navigate the crowded space lanes. Each ship represented a unique fusion of technologies, a testament to the power of collaborative innovation. "To think it all started with a simple tour," Dr. Santos remarked, joining her at the viewport. The original engineering team had become legendary figures, their names now associated with breakthrough theories and revolutionary designs. Below them, in the Institute's main atrium, Dr. Thompson conducted a masterclass on propulsion theory. His audience included Council engineers, human students, and representatives from species that had once been considered too primitive for advanced technology. "The key was never about having the most advanced systems," he explained, displaying holographic models of various engine designs. "It was about understanding how different approaches could complement each other." The Celestial Dominance, now serving as a museum ship, hosted daily tours led by mixed crews of Council and human guides. Visitors could see the original technology that had sparked the revolution, alongside displays showing how each system had evolved through collaboration. We were so proud of our perfection, Zixtal admitted during a recorded interview for the Institute's archives. We never imagined that imperfection could lead to greater advancement. Dr. Wright's medical bay designs had become the new standard throughout the galaxy. The combination of council precision, human adaptability, and contributions from numerous species had revolutionized healthcare across known space. Every species brings something unique to our shared knowledge, she told a graduating class of medical engineers. Success lies not in copying each other, but in learning how our differences can create something greater. In the Institute's research wings, teams worked on challenges that would have been impossible to solve with any single species technology. The barriers between advanced and primitive, between teacher and student, had dissolved in favor of true collaboration. The original touring group from Earth, Dr. Ramirez reflected during a symposium, didn't see limitations when they viewed council technology. They saw possibilities, and more importantly, they saw how everyone could contribute to those possibilities. Sarah reviewed the latest reports from deep space expeditions. Hybrid ships ventured into regions once thought unreachable, each crewed by teams that represented the best of galactic cooperation. The old hierarchies had given way to partnerships based on mutual respect and shared discovery. We thought we were protecting our technological superiority, a council elder admitted during the commemoration ceremony. Instead, we were limiting the galaxy's potential for growth. The Institute's achievement wall displayed breakthroughs from countless collaborative projects. Each plaque honored not just the final discovery, but the unique contributions that various species had made to its development. The humans didn't surpass us, Zixtal explained to a group of young council members. They showed us how to surpass ourselves, by learning from everyone around us. As the commemoration reached its peak, ships from across the galaxy performed a synchronized display. Council vessels flew in perfect formation with human ships, their movements demonstrating how different technologies could work in harmony. The next generation will take this further than we ever imagined, Dr. Santos predicted, watching students from dozens of species collaborate on new projects. They won't see boundaries between technologies or species. They'll only see possibilities. The original touring group, now elevated to legendary status, gathered one last time in the Institute's Hall of Innovation. Their simple act of observation, guided by human curiosity and ingenuity, had transformed the galaxy's understanding of progress. Our greatest achievement, Sarah concluded in her final address, wasn't in advancing technology. It was in showing that every species, every perspective, has value. The Council's greatest error became the galaxy's greatest lesson. True progress comes not from perfection, but from collaboration. As the ceremony ended, a new group of students entered the Institute's doors, eager to learn and contribute. Among them were Council younglings, human engineers, and representatives from species that had once been ignored by galactic society. The revolution that began with a tour had become a legacy of innovation, proving that the greatest discoveries come not from showing superiority, but from sharing possibility.